MMA Rants and Raves, Strikeforce Heavy Artillery, May 15th, Alistair Overeem versus Brett Rogers for the Strikeforce Heavyweight title. And it's about time. I want to talk about Strikeforce for a second. It just seems that they're very lax with their fighters, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It gives them leeway, it lets them do their own thing, their own obligations, and it gives them time to prepare. This is a brutal sport, guys. You have to be 100% prepared before you fight, because some fights can make or break a career. They don't happen that often. And you're the team. There's no backup. There's nobody coming in the octagon with you. You're in a cage with somebody else, and that's it. No timeouts. You got to go out there and fight, and you got to be your best. So basically, it's not necessarily a bad thing. However, he is the Strikeforce Heavyweight Champion. When you hold a title, you do have to defend it, especially if you're able to defend it, if you don't have injuries. But there's a lot of ways to look at it. But it just seems that the time has finally come. It's going to be May 15th that these two guys are going to face off. Now let's talk about these two fighters for a minute. Let's start off with Rogers. Now, he has been very dominant when he first came into MMA. He's just basically knocking everybody out. You know, and to be honest, a lot of these guys are journeymen or not the same fighters they used to be until he fought Arlovski, which was an impressive victory. You know, Arlovski has been knocked out before. His chin has been questionable. But he's a very talented fighter. And he just made very short work of him. It was pretty surprising how that happened. But in MMA, crazy stuff happens. In any case, that was his most impressive win. And then, of course, he has a lot of experience now that he faced the greatest ever in Fedor. And, you know, it was interesting the way that went. But let's talk about that fight right now. People are saying that he was a tough fight for Fedor. I don't agree. I mean, he got knocked out in the second round. As far as being a tough fight, not much is talked about this, but Fedor brutalized him with a left hook, which absolutely devastated him. I mean, his head bobbed back like a slingshot effect. And he just started to reel from that shot, and then Fedor just basically took him and threw him to the ground. That's a very big man. After that shot, the fight was basically almost over. I mean, his cardio blew out, and it set up for what was going to happen next when he knocked him out later for the shot that was heard around the world. That was like a brutal knockout. But I want to talk about Overeem now. Now, Overeem has a lot more experience than Rogers. He's also defeated higher caliber opponents, defeating Vitor Belfort twice. That is impressive. I mean, Vitor Belfort is a premier striker. A lot of people want to see Belfort fight Anderson Silva because he's so good with his striking. So he defeated this guy twice. And he's submitting people. He has a lot of submissions in his career. So this guy has a very good ground game. He's knocking people out with knees. He does K1, so he's a good kickboxer too. So talk about a heavyweight that's very well-rounded. And this is a big guy. This guy is 6'5", 260 pounds. Now, of course, everybody's talking about what's on everybody's mind when you mention Overeem is the steroid thing. Is he on steroids? Is he not on steroids? But you know something, guys? It doesn't matter. And the reason I say it doesn't matter is because whether the fight is canceled or not, and I'm talking about, of course, if it's not canceled, if he enters the octagon the way he looks with that cartoonish figure, the guy is all muscle and bone, 260 pounds of pure muscle and bone, and 6'5" of him. And he even has a bigger reach than Rogers, 81.5-inch reach. This guy is going to be a very tough fight for Rogers, who's basically a one-dimensional fighter. He's a boxer with heavy hands. And he can knock people out. You know, if you look at Overeem's career, he's been knocked out before. But it's not going to be easy. And this is what I'm going to base my prediction on. Rogers has never faced a guy this big in his career. He's used to basically overpowering guys with his heavy hands and his punches and his size. He's able to come with a force at you, and he can do it early. I don't think he's going to be able to do that with Overeem. Overeem is just too big. He's bigger than Rogers. He's stronger than Rogers. And like I said, if he's approved to fight, whether it's steroids or not, if he walks in the way he looks, it's just going to be way too tough for Rogers because, like I just mentioned before, if you remember, I just mentioned it before, his cardio blew out on him. Cardio was an issue with this Rogers guy. After that left hook, he just wasn't the same. He was breathing heavy, and that's what happens when you get hit hard. It just blows your cardio out. And with Overeem, the way he's conditioned right now, that's going to be a huge advantage on his side. Now, of course, if Overeem is half the size as he was when he enters the octagon, which is probably not going to happen, I would probably give Rogers a better chance to win the fight. But the way I see it, he's facing a guy that's bigger than him, stronger than him. When I say bigger, I don't mean pure weight. I mean solid muscle weight. Because let's face it, Rogers, he's natural. He has a good build, but you're talking about 20, 30 pounds of body fat. Overeem has none of that. This guy is built like a Hulk. I don't know if you guys seen his last fight. It's ridiculous how big this guy is. He's twice the size he was when I last saw him fight against Shogun. I mean, he's twice the size. The guy is huge. And that's the problem. When he's going to fight this guy in the cage, he's not going to be able to muscle him like he muscled his other opponents. This guy's too big. So that's going to be a factor. Now, I give Rogers a chance. He's, like I said, crazy stuff happens in MMA. If he can get a good shot on Overeem, and Overeem, I remember against the Kharitonov fight, if you hit him hard and you chase after him and you keep on top of him and keep on hitting him, it's a chance that you can knock him out, but he wasn't that big as he is now. So that's basically his chance. He's a one-dimensional fighter. With Overeem, if he gets this to the ground, he's going to go for a submission, and he has a chance to knock Rogers out. So, Rogers has a chance, but I give Overeem a bigger chance. I would say Overeem is probably going to win this fight by, I guess, TKO, possible submission, first, second round. That's the way I see the fight going, guys. It's going to be an interesting card. Could be an interesting fight, too. So I'd like to know what you think about it. Please leave your comments. Please rate this video. Please subscribe. And thank you for tuning in.